and welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known nationally, internationally, and locally as the Money Lady, representing over 40 years of providing advice, information, and services to the marketplace. So, having said all of that, just quickly, if you'd like to know more about me, you can go to my website at michellegravesonline.com. michellegravesonline.com. It'll take you to a site and you'll get to see the things that I've been involved in over the many years I have handled money and assisted people in getting on a straight and narrow path to their own financial success. Folks, it's not easy, but we just make it way too complicated. I'm so serious, and I'm going to talk about that this morning. The subject today is So I Want to Be an Entrepreneur. Yeah, I'm going to dig into that one. Why? Because I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for over 40 years. I've done this show on DATV to help you through information that's called a nonprofit entrepreneur. I'm not looking to make money. I am looking to empower you through accurate information, identification of resources, and interviewing some absolutely amazing people, most of whom are entrepreneurs. Within DATV itself, my producer is an entrepreneur, Ben. Phenomenal products, phenomenal. And same thing with Melissa Constantine, who does amazing wreaths and has for years and sells them at vending sites. Those are two hands-on examples that I know locally that are doing it. Let me just begin by saying that this is the most difficult thing you're ever going to do in your life. Make no mistakes. It's easier to work for other people than it is to work for yourself. Why? Because you get to see whether or not the market is responding to you, and that can be scary. You can work for someone else, and if they make it or not, that's on them. As long as you get paid, you don't care. But when it comes to your money or other people's capital that they're putting in your business and resources, that is another game entirely. So when I talk about do you want to be an entrepreneur for 40 years, I have been an entrepreneur. I consult, I advise, I chastise, and I'm there clapping when you make your first after-tax profit. Did you hear what I said? After-tax profit. So let's get right into this and see if this is something you want. You would want to consider doing something as we enter into a contraction of the economy. I don't take the posture that other economists and money people are taking, which is, well, the Fed lowered the interest rate, so everybody's going to be running to buy stuff, do stuff. Businesses are going to expand. Businesses that have wanted to grow are going to grow. That's your take on it. I really believe that this federal response to the inflation is too little, too late. That's my opinion. Okay? I'm trained as an economist years ago. You all know, I'm not a young woman. I am crossing into 73 shortly. I've been in grad school, all that stuff to become a pro on money and systems and all that. And I am telling you that you all may think inflation is the problem. And as I said on an earlier show, and you can go to YouTube and you can look under The Power of Money with Michelle Graves and look under the subject inflation. I talked about inflation 3 years ago, before it even came to the table. I said you cannot print money indefinitely and not have a problem. You can't do it. Money's not stupid. I'm not kidding you. Ask anybody that doesn't have any money. Money has legs too. It'll run away from a foolish person fast. And you'll be like, what happened? And I'm like, well, it's kind of like a kept woman. If you cannot take care of her, she's going to find somebody that will. So there we are with that. But having said this, that inflation is not as bad of a problem to me as this money printing thing, where you're printing all this money to finance everybody else and to deal with your debt. 37 trillion, I think we're in debt because of compounding, and compounding is simply money earning interest on itself. Isn't that amazing? Money takes care of itself if you won't. So the 37 trillion, a large portion of that represents interest that is accruing at current rates on the debt. Now, you can play games with the principal, which is the amount of money that you loaned, but you got to pay people their money in the form of interest or gains or whatever. You have to pay them. And the United States, unlike other countries, and I will say this till I'm blue in the face, if you can believe that, you're going to be paying interest forever. And why does no one seem to be alarmed? Because the American consumer is the gold. Let me explain more. Other countries have to have physical gold. Okay, little bullions and nuggets. We, the American people, are the gold. Why? Because we work and pay taxes. Ta-da! The taxes. We pay money to the government so it can pay its bills and obligations. So that's why I tell people, you don't need nuggets. You're the nugget. As long as you're continuing to bring in revenue for the government is going to continue to print this junk. And everybody's good with it because of the American people paying taxes on their earnings, or in the case of a business, on their taxable profit. So it's quite a lucrative situation that nobody seemingly wants to talk to in the higher echelons of my industry or any place else, which is you're sucking off the people. Okay? That's why everybody's frustrated, and it's like, leave me the heck alone, as we say in Kentucky. Bye-bye. No. Right. Everybody's frustrated because you know what? You get tired of being the chicken that got pecked on all the time. Okay? And that is what has happened. But understand that it's always been the case. The American worker has always been the gold. Always. The majority of the wealth of this country in the form of profits goes to stockholders and to the very rich, who are primarily stockholders in their own companies and their own ventures. They were and are self-employed, whether you call them a CEO of a corporation, and the corporation, of course, is not working, it has workers, but all the rich are only going to get richer because the profits that are being made are minimally taxed. The bulk of the taxation, listeners and viewers, comes off the backs of the worker bees. The worker bees, okay, who pay taxes religiously every April the 15th, kerplunk, kerplunk, the taxes that have been taken out of their little checks. That's what you're looking at, your W-2. It's that wake-up call every year. How much did I pay? Oh, no, I'm not seeing any money. You're not going to see any money with our debt being what it is. And frankly, Inflation is marvelous for debt because the money you're paying out is worth much less than it could be because of the ravages of price increases. Okay? So, depends on which side you sit on. For the American consumer, inflation meant less money. For debt, inflation meant garbage money. For anybody that held our debt. And sorry, it's not the Chinese that hold most of our debt. It's the American worker. Yes. Our pensions. Yeah. They invest. Yeah. In governments. They do this. Our pensions invest in U.S. paper, all kinds. And that's debt. We hold the debt. We make the debt. We hold the debt. Isn't that macabre? I don't know if I like that. Well, I don't like it. I don't like us being in debt to anybody, even if it's ourselves. Well, you're just paying yourself back. You're paying yourself back in dollars that are not worth 100 cents on a dollar. That's what you're doing. And you pray the pension system holds forth. You pray that the insurance system, which buys debt, holds forth. But please be aware on this nugget going forward. We are the gold. Yep. The worker bees of America, all 200 million of us, counting, are the gold. And so we got to keep this machine pumping. We got to keep this machine going. We got to keep people spending money. We got to keep people staying in debt. We got to keep people in a place where they have to work because they're sinking in debt. They can't pay their rent. They can scarcely pay their mortgage. And let me tell you, after this hurricane that went down, Helene, or what her name was, Helene, I don't know, it sounds like hell to me. But after that devastation, I don't even want to talk about it. We're going to be digging up garbage for years from where that one flew through, and they're talking about others in the rear. When is this going to end? I have no clue. I didn't make them. I have no clue. But all of this ties into my subject matter today in a very weird way, but it does. And it ties in because if we're the debt, how am I going to get out of this situation? I'm making less and less money. Well, you're making less and less money working for the person who owns this stuff that you work for. That's what you're doing. So you can either be an owner in a small way, or maybe it'll grow. I don't know. I mean, Amazon with Mr. Beast didn't start off like that. I remember when it was a book exchange. I'm serious. He was getting ready to go under. And he had an epiphany. And he took Amazon another way entirely. And 20 years ago, it did not look like it was going to do well. It just didn't. A guy who's a dork and sells books, and now you're going to flip it into a steroid-driven retail machine representing all kinds of small business owners. What a great portal. What a great opportunity. But he was a small business owner as well. Yep, he just saw where he could go, and he went with it, which you don't do as a worker bee. It's not possible to think bigger when you're working to make somebody else money, which translates as profit. Okay, so here we are now. Okay, we had a glitch of COVID, and that kind of affected some people. But the biggest pop has been climate change, which is causing horrific weather patterns. And let me be clear, because believe it or not, I was in the hurricane trying to get to a conference in the mountains of Tennessee, and Tennessee has some wonderful mountains. I mean, you want to see God, go up to the top of one of those mountains and look at what is underneath you. It is fantastic. It's indescribable. But I'm driving down the interstate trying to get down to this retreat, and unbeknownst to me, because I thought hurricanes were kind of around the ocean area like Florida, Mississippi, southern part, maybe a little bit of Georgia, maybe, but not Kentucky and Ohio. What? Does this thing have legs? And I'm going to tell you something. I got an awakening driving down the road with a companion who was attending. She was driving. I can't even see at night. I'm riding. And I'm telling you, it looked like the heavens opened up and whatever was in it came dumping down on all of us. Cars began to spin. I looked at her and I said, I hope you believe in prayer, because I'm getting ready to have a conversation to make sure that we don't wind up at the bottom of a mountain. And we got there. But I am going to tell you right now, my prayers are for the people in Asheville, Tennessee. My prayers are for the people in Florida, in Georgia, in Mississippi, wherever that thing hit. My prayers, because they say Asheville, Tennessee, which was one of my favorite places, particularly they have a magnificent mansion, magnificent galleries, wonderful, friendly people. And that place looks like a bomb dropped on it. Boom. There's no ocean in Asheville. There's none of the accoutrements that hurricanes like. So I guess Helen just decided she's going to enjoy Asheville for snacks. Tore up everything. And I'm telling you, there are people that could not make it to this conference coming in from North Carolina because they had to go through US 40, which is Asheville. And the bridges were out. And everything was a mess. And they had to go back. They could not get through. They had to turn back. I was very grateful because we did not come near that. We just headed south. And yes, it was like that fairy tale where he huffed and he puffed with the pigs, the little 3 pigs. Huff, huff, huff. And I was like, whoa, I don't even believe I am driving into a hurricane. That's the times we're in. Why'd I bring this up? Not as an anecdote, but as a truth. Because I thought about all of the lost opportunities for people that did not make it. There are a lot of people that died in this. They're still uncovering bodies. But how relevant is it to you? That's your wake-up call. South Carolina underwater, no power, no internet, nada. South Carolina, okay, next to North Carolina. The South Carolina got blown away, okay? And most of the people, the citizenry, folks, were not prepared. They were not prepared. So, talking about entrepreneurship as your opportunity to do a self-assessment and to see if you can begin to lay the foundation for creating your own business opportunity. Only in America, with few exceptions, people could step into a business and do very, very well for themselves. Now, you can also step into a business and go totally blown up, smithereens, body parts, all that. That's an option as well, if you do not look carefully and look in a detailed way. So let us begin with the questions. And I'm going to be asking questions. Some I'm going to give answers. Most I'm not, because I'm challenging you to look at yourself objectively. Now, question number 1. Are you content to be a W-2 employee? That's a person that literally works for a living every day. That's what you do. You get paid an hourly rate that you agreed to, so don't get mad at the boss. He's not paying me enough. You signed the paperwork at that wage. He's paying you exactly what you agreed to. Now, can you go back and renegotiate? I don't know. Is your boss a reasonable person? I don't know. But that's a W-2. You get, at the end of the year, you get a W-2 that reflects all of the money you've been paid for the year. And that's a wake-up call, too, which is, how'd I make all this money and I don't have any? That's an alert. That's an alert. If you made all that money and you don't know where that money went to, the answer to you going into business is, I don't think so. Am I saying no for later? No, I'm not. But I'm saying to you, at the point you cannot account where your money went to, that's not a good sign, because that tells me that money probably slipped up under the bed, money probably jumped out the window, money probably raised a red flag to the universe and said, come and get me. So how do you remedy that? Well, if you're W-2'd, you need to be on a budget. You need to know where every penny of your money goes, and you need to be prepared to have a hefty escrow or savings account for hard times, for no hard times, just cause if you want to go into business, you need to know that businesses are not welfare. You're going to have to put up the money. You're going to have to buy the inventory equipment, and it's on you. That's why it's self-employed, S-E-L-F, that's you. Okay, not boss man, you. So it starts with, okay, I'm not doing well on the saving side. Well, that's a good opportunity for you to look at what you are going to have to eliminate to fulfill what you want to fulfill. And I'm not apologetic about it. The wealthiest people in the world, including the United States, why do you think people are breaking their necks to get over here? So that they can start their own businesses, so that they can raise their own standards and not have government interference. Oh yeah, in other countries, you got to pay people under the table. Oh, we get the willies when we think about the mafia and about, payola and about kickbacks. That's standard operating procedure for a large number of self-employed people globally. It's a given. In Africa, you're going to pay the police. In Asia, you're going to pay that group. In Russia, you're going to pay the president. Okay, I'm just telling you, you can come into this country for the most part and set up your own little business, and you don't have a lot of interference from governmental authorities. In the United States, they just want to make sure that you are duly licensed, that you pay your taxes. Remember, the taxes are the only way they can extract from you to take care of their bills. In exchange, you get free selling. Make as much money as you want, Buster. Just make sure you pay us so that we can pay our bills. Sounds like a plan to me. Sounds like a plan to a ton of people that are busily trying to get up over here. And here's what they do. And you need to listen to me carefully, because that is a model. They come over here and they take the lowest, worthless jobs that pay a check. And then they pool their money together. And they live in cramped quarters, all together. Yes, they do. They do everything together. They go to the shopping center with the kids together, because this is about them showing their children what you can have. How many of us take our children to Walmart and say, you know what? You can do this. They're not talking about owning Walmart. Inside of Walmart is a ton of stuff. A ton of stuff. Somebody's making money. It's on the shelves, okay? And they pick it up and they look at who made it and where it's from. And they say, well, can we do this? What is it going to take for us, since they're pooling all their money, okay? And you will note The second thing they do when they get over here is they open up some kind of a food establishment. It doesn't have to be a brick and mortar. It can be a rolling food display, like in New York with the hot dogs and stuff. Whoever thought that people that did hot dogs would become multimillionaires? But they did, because everybody is on the run and they'll eat a hot dog for $3. Well, if you got 1,000 people eating a $3 hot dog that costs you 25 cents for the bun, the hot dog, and for a condiment like relish or mustard, do you know how long it will take for you to become rich? For real, on a hot dog. Yeah, and incidentally, hot dogs are still making money. Lots of money. Look at Skyline Chili, Hot Dog City, or Gold Star, Hot Dog City, or Ballpark Franks, Hot Dog City. It's still available. Why? Because the stomach is never full. Never. Particularly when it comes to stuff that doesn't have any nutritional value. You stuff it in, and 20 minutes later you want another one. Yeah, that's not hard. But I'm giving you an example of what they do. So, again, they start as a team. And in fact, they may be here as a team. A few came and then they brought others. They do that. I don't know why everybody's so shocked. Your people did that. If they came over here from Europe, and everybody over here, other than the indigenous people, came from somewhere. The Europeans came over here because nobody wanted them over there. It wasn't just the gypsies. Nobody wanted them. England didn't want them. That's why they sent them to Tennessee and Kentucky. Queen Victoria said, I'll pay for your boat fare. I'll do it. I'll even give you some junky land. But get up out of here. And they did. So don't be feeling a certain kind of way about immigrants and what they bring to the table. Because if I went down your family bloodline, I'm positive that I would find that your people came fluttering over here any kind of way they could, Rikers Island, whatever they needed to do to get the heck up out of Europe, because Europe didn't have nothing, Nothing, to bring them. And they knew it was going to be hard, but it was going to be their hard. And they usually came over here, and they had to, somebody had to sign for them. Can you imagine that? Somebody had to sign for your great-grandpappy because he was considered European trash. That is rough, but that's the truth. So they come over here, they start with low wages, they learn the business, and as soon as they can figure out how to do it, they, not the owner, they are going to begin to go out and look for business themselves. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to offer their services, same identical services, for much less. So all of a sudden you see them building roofs. You're like, wait a minute, 2 years ago, they didn't have trucks, they were being carted. I said, that was 2 years ago. Today, they the big boy. They got a crew, and they're doing roofs, they're repairing, they're doing landscape. All the jobs that they worked under these people, they're now doing it themselves. Can you do it? Well, they don't even speak English, but they know what money feels like, because those countries are not poor countries. They're just countries run by greedy people who take all the money and don't leave nothing for nobody else. Those people say, hidey-ho, I gotta go. And that's what they do. So they start their own businesses replicating what they see. And English is not required. Just the ability to price below the market and get people who are willing to work for you in exchange. Build their families up so that you can build your family up. Seems reasonable to me, may make you feel offended, but I want you to feel offended, because when you go into business for yourself, you are not only creating opportunity for yourself, but you're building a legacy for your family. And the way our U.S. tax system is designed, self-employed people get to write off just about everything. Clothing, everything. My outfit because I'm on television, and tax deductible under a self-employed mantle. Amazing. It's not illegal. And please don't talk about, well, that's immoral. No, you need to do it. You need to take advantage of what's on the books legally, so you don't have to do stuff that'll get you in the big house or get you in odd situations. It's all legal. They want you to make money so that they can collect taxes. And if this makes you make money, you got to spend money to make money, then do it. All right? Because you're self-employed. Got it? Makes sense. So they start their little food businesses. And if you know anything about what I've said over the years, the primary urge of all human beings is food and water. Water you gotta have or else you cannot live. That's a fact. And food because you cannot live. That's a fact. Oh my God. So basic. So they provide from their culture food, tacos, burritos, and other things, enchiladas, all other things. And they sell it to everybody. They don't just sell it to you, they sell it to everybody. But it starts with them recognizing that everybody has to eat and that people in America will pay for the food. They didn't pay for the water. There's more plastic bottles floating around for water than I can shake a stick at. But you got to have water, and you can't have bad water, contaminated water, or you'll get salmonella and some other horrible bacteria-based diseases. A fact. So I want you to see the picture here. So they start with these little taco dispensaries, and they begin to sell, and some of them get retail establishments if they build a clientele. But you can bet your bottom line that that retail establishment, it may be clean, but it's not going to be a prestigious location. Because they don't care. It's food. And you want it. And if it's good food, you really want it. I remember a place here in my city of residence in Cincinnati that started out selling fish and became very, very successful, became rich. And the fish was awesome. Why? Because they fried it in pork lard. Pork is tasty. They fried the fish in it and people went crazy. Could someone else have done that? Yeah, no problem, as long as you keep your eye on the money, because it's a cash business, meaning I'm not taking your credit cards, I'm taking your money. So if you want this fish sandwich, give me $10. Plop, you got it, give me my fish. Oh, this is good fish. So you become their marketing mantra. Good fish here. I don't know what's in it, but it's good. And I'm like, if you like frying fish with pig, it's good. They still do it, by the way, so I'm not going to give their name and I'm not going to talk about them, because I don't talk about nobody in business, whether it's ethical or not. I don't. And when I say that, because to do business means you have a whole lot of courage. You got to face crazy people every day. Okay? So the Latino population has figured it out because all their family work in that particular establishment, or do something around it, or they may be selling flowers in the front. They love to sell flowers. But that's all money. That's all money coming in. It all adds to the bank. They may sell some of their sauce for you to do it at home. No, you can't make it like them, but you can't come to them every day because you don't have the money, but you can buy the sauce and at least try to duplicate. That's for those of you that are worker bees. Okay, now, you want to do this business thing, and I've just showed you the easiest way to step into it. Now, here's the downside. What do you think the downside of food is? You're like, there's no downside because we all eat it. Well, I beg to differ. Because in retail, where you're selling to the public, you got to make sure that you can get the food to sell. Unless you're going to open up a fishery and bring the fish from the lake and cook it, you have to have a source for your fish and for your other ingredients. And it better be within your margins. What's a margin? It's the most you can charge for a product and still make after-tax profit. Now, a lot of young entrepreneurs start off fast. I can fry fish, I can do this, blah, blah, blah. It's more to it than the fish. When you decide, I want to be an entrepreneur, my first recommendation is always going to be keep your job. So you have a base. You're not Latino, you got it. Excuse me, please. You have to sustain. You have to pay your bills until this vision makes money. Real bottom line. Please do not talk to me, not the money lady, about I want to help my people. I'm going to tell you, you better price your products properly. You better have the necessary margins in place so that you can feed yourself, which is my people, not the general public or any particular group. Your people, okay? You're not coming from the same place as your Latino population. Now, I'm going to tell you another thing, and this is so ironic because of what it has caused. 20 years ago, women from Africa were coming over with their husbands because they wanted opportunity. And they saw African descent women doing braids. Well, that's easy breezy. Braids don't require anything except skill at braiding. And they started opening up kiosks to braid hair and using their own little formularies to make the braids look nice and neat. They were whooping the market. They charged a fortune because they really didn't know then who was willing to pay $100 for braids. And they found out a bunch of women. Where'd the women get $100? I don't know. Maybe they got it from their husbands when they were asleep. Maybe they worked for it. But it is a fact that those African women came over here and took numbers. They took numbers and started braiding, beading, and everything. They were the first ones, and they became wealthy women. Because do the math. If it's $100 to braid a head of hair, and it takes an hour to do it, and you're booked for 8, that's $800 in your pocket. Incidentally, they didn't take credit cards, they didn't pay taxes, they just took the money. And $800 a day, and they work 7 days a week, that's $5,200 a week per woman. And they have 3 or 4 of them in the shop because they all knew each other. And you'd say, this can't be right, they so mean to me. Well, if they're mean to you, it's because you let them, because you wanted that hair done. You wanted to pay that $100 or more if you wanted fancy stuff done. This was what was going on 20 years ago. People that came over here with nothing, and at the end of 2 years were wealthy and buying their own homes. All cash. All cash. I saw what I saw for myself. They did not come to my company for financing. They bought the cheapest house in the neighborhood and they paid cash. Bam! Take the money. Forget what the government said that cash unaccounted for is illegal. They were like, that's not my problem. You figure it out. I'm buying your house. And you know what? People did figure it out. But my point is, they came over here with an agenda and a purpose, and they didn't have jobs. Or if they had jobs, they had janitorial work or factory work. But they kept their eyes focused on that money. The Latino population kept its eyes focused on that money from self-employed. Okay? And they became rich. So what does that tell you? Because you're still doing a W-2 and you're not willing to get out there and do something, although I'm hopeful that these examples will change your mind, because opportunity knocks every single day in America. Woo, woo, woo. Yes, it does. And if you want it, you can get it. Let's go internet, because that's where all the business is being done and the kids are becoming rich. I mean, rich off of just information. Like somebody needs to do a website that teaches seniors how to pay their bills. Just teach them and make sure it's easy for them to learn and charge them to access the information. That's an easy breezy. Seniors don't know how to use internet. What does that mean for you listening? And you are a guru on internet. You need to turn that into a business and make it happen. $25 for an app, period. And you realize how many seniors there are out here today? And you can take them through all kinds of things and they can pay. What's reasonable for them to pay? Well, considering the fact that there are going to be 60 million of them, how much money do you want to make since you're selling your knowledge? Yeah, you're making them pay for your knowledge. That's business, by the way. We pay for knowledge every single day. Every single day, you pay for information. And you do pay. Even if they say it's free, you pay for the time you had to put in to figure this mess out without calling your grandkids and having them laugh in the background at you, which is, "You're still trying to figure this out, Grandma?" Yeah. I'm hopeless. You're hopeless. Yes. So you're going to do it because I said so. And then you're going to teach me how to do it so I don't have to pay for it. But that's not what seniors do. They're like, hands off. I'm not paying for this. I'll mail a check. They don't take checks. They want you to do it online. It's easier and it keeps hackers from compromising your banking account information. What? Yes. Yes, too much information. Another business opportunity. So you look at, and this is a very lucrative industry if you can work at small scale. You say, my grandmother taught me how to cook everything. I'm a good cook. Well, don't do anything fancy pants. Find out what you specialize in. Did your grandmother specialize in cobblers? Did she specialize in cakes? Did she specialize in puddings, including banana pudding? There are a ton of recipes for banana pudding. And sell it out of your house. Let people know that if they bring a friend, you'll give them a discount for bringing a friend. Why? Because that means you don't have to engage in marketing. You let your customers market. Then you say, you know what? I can do more than desserts. I can do fish. Great. My great aunties, and I should say my auntie, she's 91, she started out in Kentucky next to the VFW. Perfect location. Place looked like a dump, but it was clean. And all she did was Friday and Saturday, she fried fish dinners for those military men that came in to drink on Friday and Saturday. Yes, she became a wealthy woman doing that. So I know it can happen, but you have to know where and how and when, because timing is everything. I mean, selling pagers today is not a lucrative market, but it may be if we have power failures like we're dealing with Helene, the hurricane, where people can't get internet. So how do you communicate? Well, pagers may be back in order. Where do you find pagers? Research. Google knows everything. Yeah, it does. And that may be popular. And you know it has to be popular because Israel just blew up a ton of people in Gaza that had pagers because they don't want to be dependent upon the internet. So it tells you pagers are still being manufactured somewhere. So you need to find out where and begin to sell that opportunity. Yeah, this is stuff that is so available if you're willing to put in the time, the research, the technology, and get away from that television, which is nothing but a box for advertisers, and get away from Facebook and Instagram, which are nothing but portals for people to sell their stuff. And you're like, oh, I gotta have it. No, you don't. You gotta have your own stuff. That's what you gotta have. You don't need somebody else's stuff. You need your own stuff. Now say, and I will say this openly and without any shame, everybody has some kind of a gift that other people want. Your gift may be, like in Ben's case, Ben makes the most phenomenal statues out of 3D. I ought to know because when I saw it, I said, I gotta have it. And I did. He made me a warrior collection of women. And those chickies are bad to the bone. You're not going to get them anyplace else because he's the only one that does it. That's his gift. And you need to buy some from him. Okay, because he's excellent. And I'd rather give the money to him so he can benefit his family than go to a big box store and pay anything. I'm not buying anything from these big boxes. Don't talk to me about them because they're nothing but pass-throughs for other countries' junk. And I don't like it. And I had a very descriptive conversation with a woman who buys all her stuff from the Chinese port. You know, the Chinese got smart. TikTok was smart, but they got even smarter. So now all of their businesses consolidate under one brand called Temu. And that's why you can find anything because all their businesses are shipping through that portal. You want to know why shipping is free? Because China is communist. Okay? They can press, push, manipulate what they want because they want you. They got an agenda. Their business people are going to make money, but the government's going to get you. They're going to get the gold. Yes, they are, but they're not looking for taxes, revenue. They're looking for your information so they can flip that on you. And they have already begun. Yeah, why waste time when you can do it now? So I say to you, back to this issue of what do I bring to the table? What can I do to make a living? How can I get this done? And I will tell you there's a ton of information on internet. Be careful, because some trash, some treasure. But it begins with your intentionality, which is I'm going to save a little bit of my money and I'm going to pursue what I believe I do with a passion. Could you do this and not ever make a dime? Ever. Ever. It's like me and shea butter. I've been doing shea butter for 20 plus years. I started as a philanthropist overseas. And I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the children. And I'm still on it. Okay? In my case, the money goes elsewhere. I wouldn't care if I never made a dime. But I'm not going to give you a discount because business says discount works if the margin says so. If the margin is not there, I can't discount you. Now, if I'm doing huge volume like Temu, I can ship free. Or Walmart, I can ship free. Or Amazon, which represents an aggregation of U.S. companies, depending upon the company, They can ship free because the company's willing to cut the margins, not Amazon. Okay? So get it right and understand how money is made. You have to know your margins. You have to know what your market demand is going to be. You have to know whether you have help. If those of you that are Americanized, you'll tell me my family's not going to help me do nothing. Okay, well, you know what? I'd ask them once. I tell them I'll pay you. Now, mind you, the Latinos don't do that. They all participate in the pot. All right? They don't do that. If your family don't want to play ball, don't worry about it. Put a line through and hire some homeless people or some drug addicted people that are trying to go through recovery. It'll be a harder start, but you will have incredible loyalty. When I first started my business in the 80s, I hired women that were all on welfare. And I'm going to tell you something about those women. I went into the Ohio Hall of Fame behind that, by the way. Those women turned out to be better than stockbrokers. They handled their business, because anybody that can live on welfare and take care of their children, oh, there's something to be looking at. And I raised them, I trained them, they sat for their Series 7, they passed, and they went on with their business. I helped them to do what they really like. Not all of them stayed, but several of them stayed, and one's in LA, and she's a wealthy woman. Oh, she's burning oil. You may have to do that. Check the Salvation Army for people that want work. There are all kinds of men that want work. They want work, okay? And make sure that you pay them properly. Don't cheat anyone. If you cheat, you're going to experience what it feels like to get cheated, okay? I hope I've given you enough to think about and reflect, because we're going to continue this conversation. I'm not finished. No, I'm not finished. I haven't vetted this thing all the way through, because there are family relationships that are going to be impacted. But, and we'll talk about that on the next segment of So You Want to Be an Entrepreneur. Ha ha! We'll be back. Till then, I'm Michelle Graves, the Money Lady, and I'm your entrepreneur coach for these 2 shows. Take care of yourself. I love you. Bye-bye.